The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
This is Football Friday presented by Abundance Energy. We'll get into the college games that we have scheduled for today, and then the NFL weekend. And we had a game last night in the National Football League, and the Cleveland Browns have clinched a playoff spot with Joe Flacco at quarterback, not Deshaun Watson, who they're paying a king's ransom, so to speak. They beat the New York Jets last night, did the Browns 37-20. They're 11-5 on the season, and they have clinched a playoff spot. Do you know who is a huge Cleveland Brown fan, because she's from Cleveland, is our friendly face in the Yates Flooring Center chat line, Risa, is a Cleveland Brown fan. So congratulations to Risa and her Cleveland Browns, and all you Cleveland Brown fans out there.
There's a lot of long suffering there.
Oh, there's a lot of long suffering there. I mean, there's no doubt.
Having lived in that area for 3 years, that is in every way imaginable, to the point that your team just flat out got up and left. There's a lot of suffering there.
And so they're not going to win the division because Baltimore is going to do that. But you might look at the Browns and go, are they the third best team in the AFC right now, behind Baltimore and Miami?
Well, they're trending upward at a time when
they're trending upward.
Your
when
usual suspect is trending the other way.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, no question. So, I mean, the AFC South is a bastion of just parity. Everybody's 8-7 except Tennessee. Kansas City is going back to the pack. They're 9-6. They're better away from home than they are at home. 5-2 away, and then you look at Buffalo, and they're 9-6. They're a contender, but they've got plenty of question marks. So the Browns might be as good as anybody there in the AFC, and we certainly wouldn't have said that a couple of months ago. All right, Red Raider basketball last night. They take down Sam Houston State. It's gonna start getting harder here really quick. Okay, like muy pronto. It's gonna start getting harder for them. But what's your take on this Red Raider basketball team? Kind of where we are right now.
We kind of discussed this a little bit yesterday with Snead, but in a weird way, I almost think that the development of the team at large, not that you're better, I'm not saying that at all, but has maybe been amplified or sped up, catalyzed by the loss of Devin Cambridge, because some other guys have been forced into contribution. I mean, what I think is going to be tough in Big 12 play at that pace against that level of team and with the level of defensive effort particularly, it's going to require. You had 6 guys last night play 24 or more minutes. If you add Chance McMillan as your 6th man off the bench. Then you had Robert Jennings and Lamar Washington each play just under 12 minutes. And that, now you emptied your bench last night and everybody got in, but that is the extent, those 8 guys, of what your rotation will be in Big 12 play. And I think you're just going to, I think there's a bad chance that you wear down as this season progresses. However, I also think that guys slotting into new roles and new areas of needing to be able to contribute has to me, it might have been developing anyway if Devin Cambridge was still here, but I just feel like it's amped up a little quicker. At least you have a decent idea of who and what you need to be going into Big 12 play, as opposed to how that might have been. I really don't think this team had notched in an identity prior to the Cambridge injury. It's still early and very young team, so that makes sense. But I've been pleased with what they've done in the weeks since that development.
Pop Isaacs had 28. He hit 5 threes last night. He's 5'11" from the 3-point line,
and he started 0 of 5. That's the telling piece there.
Yeah. Okay. 18 for Kerwin Walton last night, and then 11 for Chance McMillan off the bench. The other thing that stands out to me, and this has been pretty consistent even since the Cambridge injury, 21 assists on 32 made field goals last night. I mean, as a basketball coach, you have to like that, and how they've kind of moved the offense and shared the ball may not have always been flowed right, but it's kind of like this offense is kind of like a chocolate chip cookie dough. Okay, in that when you put the chocolate chips in to the cookie dough, and you mix it up, it's not evenly spread throughout the whole cookie dough. But when you put the cookie into the oven, if you've made it right, when it comes out, no matter how it looks, it tastes pretty good.
I like the analogy. I like the analogy. You 1 point away from Darian Williams and Warren Washington being in double figures. You had all 6 of those main 6 guys in double figures last night. So, but Walton and Isaacs getting hot from 3 is not a Big 12 formula for success. You're going to have to go to and last night you got to the free throw line a pretty significant amount, and you were okay there. You weren't very good.
17 to 24. Yeah. What would you like that to? Would you like it to be closer to 75 to 80%?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'd like to be at 80 on a regular basis. That's probably asking a little bit much, but yeah, with a team that, especially guards that are getting to the rim a lot, you'd like to see them. You understand big man not being very good free throw shooters. They typically are not. But here's the weirdest stat from last night to me. When you look in the plus-minus category, of the 5 starters, the guy that I would say stood out defensively as just having big plays and got in the mix and got on the floor and got his hands on stuff and all these sorts of deals was Kerwin Walton. But Darian Williams in his minutes was a plus 32. Warren Washington a plus 21. Pop Isaacs a plus 34. Joe Toussaint a plus 42. And he played 32 minutes. Kerwin Walton was a plus 1 on the evening. I'm not sure if that math is just bad on the box score or what, but that would mean
double
that
T stat guy is usually he is
pretty good.
He is on it. Yeah, so I would tell you that's an accurate number.
So that would suggest that when he was out of the ball game is when you made all your heavy runs to extend the lead, even though he knocked down shots and had 18.
And he was 4 of 8 from beyond the arc, but he did not get to the free throw line last night. And he did not draw any fouls last night.
No, and he's typically not, although he has done some things in and at the rim more than I've seen him do last year for certain. But to me, what has been different about Kerwin Walton is his defense. I mean, his hands have been on last night. His hands were all over the place. A lot of touches, a lot of deflections, a couple steals. That's a piece that makes him a playable guy that's getting 28 minutes now for a reason. And I mean, obviously because he's knocking down shots. But to only be plus 1 in a game where every other starter is at least plus 20, if not closer to plus 40. That is an odd stat, and it just makes me wonder about what rotations he's sitting in when he's on the floor. Is he left out there to kind of be an anchor when Toussaint is out of the game a little bit, or when Pop Isaacs is, and he's out there with a Lamar Washington and a Robert Jennings, and so it's more about the groupings than it is his individual performance. But that's odd.
One more cupcake, and this kind of feels like it'll be a dried out cupcake with. Sometimes the dried out cupcakes, the icing is still good on a dried out cupcake, but you got one more of those, and that'll be New Year's Day at 1:00 against North Alabama. I mean, well, I just ask why. I mean, why are you playing New Year's Day, and why are you playing?
When Bob Knight did it, you brought in.
But it was an awful game.
Minnesota. You brought in New Mexico.
That was the game. That was the game he passed Dean Smith.
Yeah, if that's the kind of a tradition you're going to put in place or whatever, I kind of get it. People are off; are able to come, but North Alabama.
This is going to be like my flight from Dallas to Lubbock last night. The flight attendants repeatedly said to the sheep that were coming on board, "Not a full flight. Everybody should have a window or an aisle, or you'll have your whole aisle to yourself." Okay, this is how this is. Everybody will have an aisle seat. Okay, there's no reason to just crowd each other. Okay,
I will say, and we'll see what happens, but best crowd not in terms of environment and size that I've seen since the opener.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good to hear because that's been a...
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
You should all know by now that, if we can sell it, we'll do it. It's something like, if there was a penchant for Chinese gong music here in Lubbock and we could figure out a way to sell it, we would have that. We would have that format.
And not to hijack from you here, but Jeff Haxton raised a question on the end of the bench on Monday or Tuesday with me that was very interesting to me, and I think there was a lot of merit to it. But we were kind of talking about the lack of energy at basketball games and the smaller crowd, which I still debate just how small relatively the crowds have been compared to what they always are in the students being gone parts of the year. But he raised the point of, is the lack of proximity to Chris Beard and the fact that there is no Texas coming into Lubbock, has that demotivated? I mean, was that a huge part of the umph and the energy and the buildup of your off seasons the last 2 years? Not off seasons, your non-conference seasons. And I think there's some merit to that argument, and I feel like across the board, like even just talking about, hey, would there be a reason to do a post-game show for basketball? I think, and if some of those years you might have had that kind of interest to where, people want to sit and listen, they want to talk about it a little bit, but not like they do football. But
I disagree with that. I don't. I think the Chris Beard component was related to one game, and it was Texas, and it got to a fever pitch that first game to where it got out of control. And I think it's more about your lack of postseason success, because let's face it, winning cures all ills. And when you have postseason success and you have this expectation to, oh, hey, what do you mean? What do you mean we got to work to get to the tournament? What do you mean we got to work to get to a Sweet 16? And bear in mind, we'd only had 3 prior to the 3 or 4 prior to the Beard experiment, and one of those, they never give him credit, but it wasn't called the Sweet 16 then, but it was a Sweet 16 team. It was a Gerald Myers team back in the 80s, because there were fewer teams playing at that point in time. It was harder to get into the tournament than it is today, and so the James Dickey team is often thought of as the first Sweet 16 team when in fact it wasn't. It was the second.
Yeah, I mean, I've said that my whole life, and when I learned that, I was like, wait, what is? We were in the round of 16 or whatever. I don't think that was a marketed name yet.
It wasn't. It wasn't. But it's always
still, you got to that round.
It's always bothered me that there were some really, really good Texas Tech teams, in the 50s and the 60s that would, and it's this way in other parts of the country too, that would have been into the tournament easily by today's standards. So I think it's your lack of postseason success. The other thing is, I think on purpose, this coaching administration for this particular team had everything on the down low, all from the moment they took over to the moment of the first game, on purpose, kind of giving Heisman's to the high donor guys, the Bone Group. People lost their access card to walking into the Womble at any point in time that they wanted to watch practice. So I think he put the clamp down on what he felt, and I think as a result of that, you have less energy built up for the season because, Beard did these 5 with the fireside chats, and he got the students all jacked up with Raider Riot, and hey, if you want to be here for the Texas game, the Kansas game, the other Big 12 games, and you got to be here for the non-conference games, and they made a point of emphasis of. But it wasn't day one for him with that. It took some time. So my feeling is that as you win games and as you build your program and as you get guys that you can kind of maybe grow old with a little bit, or at least have you're not having a complete roster flip, that energy will return to the building. But you're going to have to win, and you're going to have to retain some players, and you're going to have to get out and campaign for it a little bit. So I don't think it's the lack of Chris Beard coming here. I think it's the lack of a, and I think it was a from the head coach of making it a point of emphasis of, we need you here, and going out and campaigning like Beard did. Because Adams didn't do that.
I think there's truth to that. I think you hit another part of it, but a big part of it to me still, like that date in February, and I've forgotten it now, what second or whatever it was, the first time that they came. I mean, people had that thing circled, and I feel like it was almost like every game was a practice for that night. And yeah, I agree that night got out of control in different ways, but at the same time, I felt like some air went out of the balloon when he got fired at Texas. For this basketball fan base, at least.
I hate that you say that, because
I don't like saying it either.
I hate
but
that
I
you
think
say it,
it's
because
true.
that means you're giving Texas credit for our enthusiasm for basketball.
Well, not Texas,
Or
because Rodney Terry's not going to bring in a Texas team that. Texas is always Texas, but in basketball, yeah, whatever. I mean, really,
they've not been this bastion of
even
power.
in the Rick Barnes years, they did not bring the juice to
No.
I think most fans that Kansas does when they come in here in basketball. I think they're the next biggest game that you've got. But I think what you said there, in addition to that, is and I don't remember how you said it just then, but the roster turnover that you've had.
And you're like, who are these guys?
Getting to know play now, and it's a little different too when you've had some six. Like if you went to the tournament and won a game last year, hey, Pop's coming back.
Yeah,
Robert Jennings is coming back. Lamar Washington's coming back.
Kerwin Walton's coming back.
Yeah, Kerwin. I've got these guys I want to go see again. Mm-hmm. You didn't have that success last year. Number one. Number two, the guys that are in that 8-man rotation do kind of include Jennings and Washington now, but they didn't play very much early on.
Well, the other thing has been about who you lost, whether it was McCullough or T.J. Shannon or some of these other guys,
Well, and you became big time, big name, huge recruit type front runner for a little bit there, and I would argue you weren't terribly successful with that model, but you managed to pull those sorts of names, and you don't. I don't know that anybody was just talking about, hey, Warren Washington's coming.
Well, and it's hard. Look, it's hard when you go to a Final Four and you've changed everybody's expectations.
Yes.
I mean, you changed everybody's expectations to the point where people were like, yeah, I'm going to get my Final Four tickets and book my hotel room now. Whoa. It's really hard to get to a Final Four. You got to have some luck. You got to have some skill. You got to have the right kind of. That
was what was painful about the lightning in the bottle that you didn't quite catch. That one off, because how many chances are you going to get to be back in that moment in Minnesota that you were in?
Well, you hope you get another one.
I hope so too, but it's hard.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Coming up today, we'll have some bowl games on the air for you. We'll have the Gator Bowl at 11 o'clock today. This features Clemson and Kentucky. Dabo Swinney versus Mark Stoops. Wonder if Mark Stoops really thought he was going to be coaching Kentucky on December 29th, Thanksgiving weekend. Kind of think he thought he was getting ready to get on a plane to go to College Station. What a strange deal that was.
I think they got it right.
You do? Mm-hmm. With Mike Elko?
I don't. I'm not saying Mark Stoops isn't capable, but I don't know that he's going to move the needle drastically.
No, well, clearly. I mean, they floated that trial balloon, and to me, I'm curious how long the athletic director at Texas A&M stays, because basically that deal was done, and then he went to his boss, and they're like, "What? You're going to hire who? No, we're not doing that."
Yeah.
And then they got to undo everything that they had been doing.
Well, and I think it's very similar to Joy McGuire in that there was a groundswell of people in the know and people with power, people with influence, who said, hey, we like that guy. And there was enough of the fan base that had drank that Kool-Aid too. But I think Mike Elko has a chance to be successful there.
Yeah, but so that'll be today at 11 on 100.7 The Score. And then also from El Paso, it'll be the Sun Bowl featuring Notre Dame and Oregon State. We'll have that game after the Gator Bowl on 100.7 The Score. Then this afternoon, you'll have the Liberty Bowl featuring Iowa State and Memphis. That'll be on Double T 97.3. That'll be at 2 o'clock today. The kick's at about 2:30. And then tonight, it still seems criminal to me for the Cotton Bowl to be played on any day other than New Year's Day. It just feels criminal. And you'll have Ohio State and
then we
Missouri.
won't play it then. I mean, we don't commit a crime around here.
6:30 the broadcast time. today from Jerry's place, and it's not even at the Cotton Bowl anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, almost every one of these New Year's Six games feels, with the exception of the Rose Bowl and maybe the Orange Bowl, but they're indoor stadiums. You wouldn't know the difference between Glendale or Atlanta or Arlington without a backdrop panorama, getting that full stadium view.
Sure.
You're kind of like, it's an indoor stadium.
The Peach and the Cotton,
the Fiesta, they might as well be the same thing.
They might as well be the same place. Yeah.
And it's lost. There's so much that's been lost. And,
When does that start? When does college football start paying that tab for all the damage that they've done to themselves? Because you know what I think? It's almost like, and just follow me here for a second. I mean, I've already kind of given you some analogies today that maybe make your head scratch a little bit. The dried out cupcake with the icing and the chocolate chip cookie and the cookie dough. But
I'm with you. I've been with you.
Which I feel good that you're with me. I think I'm more worried about you than feeling good about me. But remember, like, NASCAR and just the fervent pitch that the fans had for NASCAR, and then it kind of went Hollywood, and they priced Joe Sixpack kind of out of the grandstands, and NASCAR is a shell of its former self in terms of mass appeal by the public and the fever pitch of going to the track and feeling like the drivers are just like you, even though they're not, and they're paying a hefty price for basically trying to sex up their sport and get away from the people that really kind of built them, much like college football and what it's doing with conference realignment and blowing things up and the expensive tickets and suites, and to the point where it's becoming very expensive to go to a college football game, much like it's now very expensive to go to a NASCAR race, and people are going, I can watch that from home. Well, I've lost my passion for it. And that's what I fear, is that because of these not having the rivalries, the passion for the sport will start to wane, and there'll be a price that we paid for it maybe 15, 20 years from now.
Well, and yes, I agree with you twofold, really. I think you created everything is now a television product that makes all the fanfare and those pieces, just like you said about these bowl games. I mean, they're cookie cutter in a lot of ways. They're like a 70s Major League Baseball stadium.
Yeah, right.
But I think more importantly, two things have happened here. The long-standing rivalries are getting murdered left and right by all this realignment. But these huge conferences too, like, to me, what has made, for instance, Big 12 basketball so much fun these last few years is that you're going to see every one of these schools in your gym, every one of them, playing a full round robin, 18-game schedule of those 10 teams. And what that does to me, it isn't just interesting because you get to see all 9 of your other opponents in your conference, but now you just played Kansas State, who you think is a really good basketball team. And 2 weeks ago, you played West Virginia. Do we have any reason to think about West Virginia geographically, or are we going to drive to Morgantown and watch?
No.
But did I just see both those teams in my gym? And therefore, when there's on Tuesday night, Kansas State at West Virginia, do I want to tune in and watch because these are people I've watched and I know the names?
Yeah.
And that's a real thing. That proximity and that, and don't, this era of 10 team league basketball has been so much fun because there is not a night of the week other than Thursday and Friday, really, and Sunday. There's 4 nights of the week that you can flip on ESPN and you can watch a Big 12 basketball game that is fun to watch.
Right,
that
and you feel like you kind of know those players, right?
And this is true in football too, but now you're looking at, you might not see a team at all in many of these conferences, but once in a decade, once in a 5-year span, and you might not see them in your home field at all. And in the meantime, do you have any reason to care about Utah or Arizona State or Arizona or Colorado or for that matter now West Virginia or Iowa State, when they're like cousins that you see at the reunion every fifth year.
Right, and we're getting ready to, tomorrow the Lady Raiders will play Houston. It'll be their first Big 12 women's basketball game. And you go, okay, well, the last time you kind of had anything to do with them, they were in the Southwest Conference, which is 20-something years ago.
And that's what I just wonder, if the pendulum keeps swinging all that way to whatever direction it's going in. And Florida State, I think, might be the ones that really blow it up to some extent. But if you end up with a whole new entity of some sort, do you in the new design go back to some kind of geographical purpose where there is consistent matchups between at least this set of schools?
I think you do. I think that happens in every sport but football.
Yeah,
I think there's potential for that to happen in college basketball, but I'd almost wish that football would just go off and, hey, you guys, just Power 5 plays Power 5. You're not playing Abilene Christian anymore. You're not playing Tarleton anymore. You're not playing Sam Houston anymore. Power 5 plays Power 5, and we're going to have a 16-team playoff, and you move on. And next group of 5 plays group of 5. Just like we have 6A, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A in high school football. Same thing in college football. And people are going, well, nobody's going to care. But right, nobody's going to care about Sam Houston State and Tarleton and those games. There'll be a small group that'll care. But the big numbers are over here. Big numbers are over here. And if you're Texas Tech, you want to be included in those big numbers. You have a chance to kind of put yourself on the map, so to speak. But I don't know. It's crazy. It is crazy, and we're watching suicide really be committed right in front of us by these college football commissioners and schools, athletic directors, and television executives. And we're going to be sitting here 20 years from now going, "What the hell happened? Oh, well, this happened. Okay, well, we shouldn't have done that."
I think you're right.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Time now for Jamie's Question of the Day, brought to you by someone not named Jamie.
7:32 this morning here on the Morning Drive.
All right, gentlemen. I am giving you the keys to a time machine.
Okay. I love this.
Is it a DeLorean?
It's an automatic, however, 5-minute return.
Oh.
You only get to go back to the beginning of the year, and you're only there for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You can give one piece of advice to any Texas Tech coach starting January 1 until now.
Mm-hmm.
You're only there for 5 minutes, so you got to make it fast.
Mm-hmm.
Who and what is the advice for a Texas Tech coach from the past year?
Let's see here.
You need a new flux capacitor. 5 minutes is all we're getting out of this game.
You could say to Coach Adam, don't tell anybody about Hawaii. or give everybody the Men in Black kind of deal, or
maybe
erase their memory.
Pick a different part of the Bible to reference.
Yeah, right. Don't reference the Bible. Okay.
I think there's plenty of reference there, but don't choose the slaves obey your master.
Yeah, right. That's probably
maybe. Don't give Jeff Goodman something to put in a headline.
Right. That's one thing. Let's see. What would the obvious low-hanging fruit is tell Joey McGuire, hey, that Taj Brooks guy that you got there, run the damn ball.
Well, I think the obvious Joey McGuire is, hey, Joey, don't talk about next season.
Right.
No 60 minutes of us.
Yeah.
No, we're 21 points better than last year's team. No,
right.
but
Yeah.
just go straight coach speak, Joey.
Yeah, just
tell everybody, I don't know. It's going to be tough slugging.
Right.
I don't know that
our offensive line is going to be the strength of our team, but
we got a long way to go.
We got a long way to go.
Probably going to have to use 3 quarterbacks again.
Just hope that we don't have to put the freshmen in. Or you could say to Tyler Shuck on that, hey, just throw the ball out of bounds here. Against
Again,
Oregon.
We're talking to the coach. We're not talking to players.
Yeah.
I
think
recent memory, I go back to January 1st, 2013.
2013?
Yes.
Well, that's way before this time machine can go back.
I have to go back to this year?
Yes.
And
This,
I thought I could go back to any year.
2023.
year.
2023.
I really think your flux capacitor sucks.
you know what? It's an end of the year question that I'm trying to have some fun with.
All right, I'm going to go back to my other thought later, because if I could change the
Perfectly
year.
acceptable.
Because, I mean, Doc and Marty could change the year to any year.
You were the one that said it was a DeLorean. I didn't. I
Well,
just
if we're
said you
talking
got a
time travel,
machine
there's
that can go
only
back 5
one
minutes.
pop culture reference we need to be making here.
Doctor Who.
Oh, false. That's
I think what you said. I think that's really good.
that's got to be it.
I would say, run. The identity of your offense is going to be running the ball if you want on-field results. And I think what you said about temper your enthusiasm.
Yeah, and I mean,
But I love his enthusiasm. But
you got 5 minutes too. There's got to be something in that 5 minutes you say that wins you a game at Wyoming.
right, run the ball.
Well, that's it. But any number of individual moments that you say, hey, at the 13-minute mark of the fourth quarter in Laramie, when Oregon comes in at the X minute mark, you could get a lot out in 5 minutes if you had a plan. And what if you were 3-0 going into conference play? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, hey, when Tyler Shuck, when you get his leg shattered into 17 pieces, apparently on purpose. Number one, maybe don't do that. But then number two, go ahead and.
What do you mean on purpose?
I feel like that day was reckless.
Oh,
I feel like your play calling that day was
okay.
Like from the start, it was like are we trying to get this dude injured? And sure enough, yeah, there you go. But I think that game you win to at West Virginia you should have been 5-0.
What about Coach Tadlock? Is there anything that you would like to?
I was thinking that, and I don't know what you do differently.
Because really,
I don't think you had
the pitching injuries were.
Yes, between your injuries and just in general what you had on all that. Now you're bringing back you're not bringing back the most important one in Mason Molina, but you're bringing back this year. I got a lot of excitement about what you're bringing back.
Gavin Cash is coming back. We're fine.
What is your?
I'm talking about pitching.
Jeff, what's your 5-minute advice?
The 5-minute advice would be to Joey McGuire and be very much coach. I know you're excited. You're excited when you wake up in the morning to brush your teeth. You're excited about pouring the first cup of coffee. You're excited about the upcoming season. That's great. Worst case scenario, coach. What would happen if? What would happen if you lost your starting quarterback? And maybe if your offensive line isn't that good. Bring back the expectations just a touch out loud. Have them internally. Get rid of the cameras in the locker room. Have your team pumped up, ready to go. Be excited for the team going forward with the fan base. Don't say 21 points better. Say that, we've still got a lot of work to do. We've made some progress last year. We've got to continue that progress going forward. And, run the damn ball. We're really good at it. You should try it more often earlier. And if that means you're handing it to Taj Brooks instead of Tyler Shuck running for his life or forcing a run when he doesn't need to, maybe you've got Tyler Shuck all season long. And you do start 5-0. Well, all of those are possibilities.
Part of my 5 minutes would also include, hey, tell your true freshman if he ends up having to play, don't throw it over the middle. And if you've got a whole bunch of play calls that involve that, don't use them. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know that you beat Kansas State no matter what, but you certainly could have beat BYU if you didn't give them the ball 5 times over the course of that evening.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything for Tadlock. I don't really think I have much for Mark Adams. And I don't think the 5 minutes would have mattered, to be quite honest.
That was because that was it was kind of shot in Hawaii, which was in November.
I'd like to give something to Krista Gerlich, but I don't know that she had the horses completely to get there either.
The only thing I would have said was, in the last game of the year, we had a kind of a costly technical when the game looked like it was out of hand, and then they clawed their way back in. The technical didn't cost you the game, but
sure helped elevate the momentum.
It didn't
the other direction.
It didn't. I would have liked to have started that game differently against Arkansas. And then you chance. Then you would go on to Lawrence and have to play KU, and then they were the eventual preseason, or they were the eventual postseason NIT champion. But yeah, I would have liked to have played one more game.
I'd tell Tom Stone, hey, just do it exactly like you're going to do it.
Yeah. And I would say for Coach Gerlich, figure out a way to be healthy.
Your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Drive, good morning with Garrett Luft and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Garrett's in for Jamie this morning. It's a Football Friday presented by Abundance Energy. We come to you from the First United Bank studio, and look forward to hearing from you today on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to WT973.com for that, or the mobile app. Visual Edge IT hotline is open too, 806-771-0973. We'll have the Gator Bowl and the Sun Bowl today on the air for you on 100.7 the score. So just the end of the bench today from 9 to 11 over there. And then this afternoon we'll have the Liberty Bowl and the Cotton Bowl on. And I am so disappointed that I've missed out on the last two Liberty Bowls, because that was a bowl game that I really wanted to go to someday, and I missed out on the Tech Liberty Bowl. We had tickets, we had airline tickets, we had Texas Tech alumni event tickets, we had tickets with our friend, and I'd gone to Florida with the Lady Raiders and came home, and a bunch of us, including myself, tested positive for COVID, and that's it. That's all she wrote. In fact, I sold my tickets to a guy who was at a bar with a couple of people that I just happen to know here in town, and they happened to be at this bar, and this guy was looking for tickets, and they'd seen my post, my social media post, saying, "Hey, I got 2 tickets I can't use because I'm tested positive," and I sold my tickets. While I was sitting in my lazy boy upstairs in my room, watching bowl games, and was able to at least get a little something back. So, and then last year I had a scheduling conflict, or I would have gone to see KU play, but just hadn't worked out.
Turned out to be a more entertaining game, at least.
Right, they lost in extra overtime.
Yeah, but what have you? I mean, surely in all your world travels, you have been through Memphis.
I don't think I have been through Memphis.
Really?
I've not. I don't have this big desire to go see Elvis. Okay.
No, I mean,
I probably would have. I think we had some friends that went to Graceland, but I mean, the way that my schedule worked when Tech played there 2 years ago, again because of basketball, I think we were flying in and flying out really, really fast.
Yeah.
So it would have been just. And I've learned for these bowl games, I mean, you gotta have your fun before the bowl game. Because if you're relying just on the bowl game to have your fun, probably going to be disappointed.
Yeah, we do the whirlwind tour. I mean, we drove through the night, slept, went to the game, drove back, and we all came back with COVID. In that deal. But we also road tripped this summer on kind of college tour with my daughter, through not to visit Memphis for that purpose, but it was on the way, and I would never want to live in Memphis. Like, don't get me wrong here, but for a trip, I think there's a lot of cool things to experience in Memphis, and if you ever go, you need to go to the National Civil Rights Museum. It's worth every penny of admission.
I mean, you know that I'm a history fan.
Super well done. It is such a cool, really
is it
cool
where the
place.
Lorraine Hotel is?
Yes,
okay.
The motel, the Lorraine Motel. Yes,
Lorraine Motel.
Been repurposed, and you actually walk through the 2 rooms that were adjacent to or where Martin Luther King was pulled into. But you know, Beale Street, take it or leave it. In my opinion.
Well, I probably would. That would probably appeal to me.
It's dirty. I mean,
I know, but I mean
the whole city is.
I know, but I mean, I think
the Liberty Bowl's more impressive, and it's a dump, but it's more impressive apparently than the Independence Bowl. I will say that from all takers of people who have been to both now.
Yeah,
and it's about to get a $200 million overhaul apparently.
Well, I would enjoy Beale Street. I think I would enjoy that one time. I think I would love to be a part of that. Do you know who was? I was looking to see if I could confirm this. I am certain that he was, But the Reverend Jesse Jackson was standing next to Martin Luther King when he was shot and assassinated.
Yep.
I'm always the backstory of all these things. That one and Bobby Kennedy and obviously JFK and some of these others. I'm a fan of history, as you well know, not just sports history, but generally my fandom of history is from World War II forward. I don't have very much interest in the Civil War. I have no interest in the Civil War. I have very little interest in World War I, but World War II forward.
Well, I won't poke the bear of calling you a Missourian, but no.
I was born on one side of the river, and I grew up on the other side of the river. Okay,
but with that,
my birth certificate does say Missouri. Okay, it does.
With that,
I was just like mere miles away from the Kansas state line.
But with that background, you don't have any interest in antebellum.
No, I really don't.
Or the Civil War.
I really don't.
I mean, that is some of the most fascinating.
I know, but I mean,
fascinating.
Missouri was a slave state, and Kansas was a free state.
Kansas and Lawrence.
I know. Lawrence
is
burned.
The free capital.
I mean, it got burned down, right?
Yes.
I know.
And John Brown.
I know. I just don't. I just for whatever reason, I just.
That to me is about the only cool thing about growing up in that part of the world.
I mean, this bar
that I could imagine.
This bar I used to go to in Kansas City was. It's the oldest building in Kansas City, and the Underground Railroad went literally below this where this bar is, and it was like an outpost for Daniel Boone. Kelly's in Westport. If you ever go, you can go to. And it's a dump of a bar, but if you walk in there, you're like it looks like a saloon. Kelly's, you can. I probably could walk in there tonight, and there'd be somebody I would know. It's kind of one of those places, especially this time of year, because you kind of go back there, go back and.
Who am I going to see at the old haunt?
Who am I going to go see at Kelly's? I mean, some of my buddies, I'd be like, hey, you want to go to Kelly's? They're like, oh, God, it's such a dump. I'm like, I know, but I mean, you like going there. Yeah, we're not going there.
But that's, I mean, okay. That is interesting to me that you don't see any intrigue in that portion
no, I
of, you were right.
All right.
Maybe you were too proximate to it.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.